Today on the newscast, find out which regimes are supporting the Russian invasion of Ukraine and what it might mean for the Iran nuclear deal. That's next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. It's great to be back home here in the Watchman studio after an incredible week of production in my second home, the city of Jerusalem. We got some cutting-edge content last week that we will be rolling out here on the newscast on YouTube and also on our Watchman TV show on TBN. So you will want to keep it right here in the days and weeks to come. If you missed any of our on-the-ground coverage from Israel last week, you can check it out here in our archives. Hey, while you're there, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new update is posted here. We're posting a brand new newscast every day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekends, including yesterday, Sunday, February 27th, where we analyzed Russian President Vladimir Putin's announcement that he was putting Russia's nuclear arsenal on high alert. Folks, a major escalation and a major development. So far, this foray into Ukraine is not going according to plan for Vladimir Putin. He is reportedly furious about the lack of progress made by Russian forces, and I don't believe that he expected the fierce resistance that he's seeing from the people of Ukraine. It's really been something to see, quite inspiring to see the Ukrainian people take on this invading force. Not only that, we have a dynamic leader in the form of the Ukrainian President Zelensky. There's people on social media that I see, and even on the comments section, they argue that Vladimir Putin is a defender of Western civilization and a defender of Christianity. Folks, I beg to differ. Number one, if Putin was a defender of Christianity, then why is he aligning himself with, say, the Iranian regime and Hezbollah in Syria, two of the most vicious anti-Christian forces in the world, radical Islamist to the core, jihadist? Vladimir Putin is openly aligning with them, and you can tell a lot about a man by the company he keeps. That includes his cozy relationship with Xi Jinping, the Chinese dictator, who is one of the world's most notorious persecutors of Christians and the Christian faith. So if Vladimir Putin is a great defender of Christianity, he has a really strange way of showing it because, again, he is lining up along some of the world's worst persecutors of followers of Jesus. Not only that, there's an argument that I'm hearing that Vladimir Putin is in fact a Christian. Well, folks, Jesus said that by your fruits you will know them. What are Vladimir Putin's fruits? Does he really seem like the kind of man who has committed his life to Christ and is walking a Christian walk, a committed follower of Jesus? Let's get serious. I don't think so. So we had to blow that narrative out of the water just to start it off today. The world is aligning against Putin, and he's becoming increasingly isolated, perhaps even erratic in his behavior, according to various current and former U.S. officials. But there are regimes that are still supporting Vladimir Putin and this invasion of Ukraine. Some of the usual suspects. Just before I came on air today with you, North Korea released a statement blaming NATO and the West and the United States for Russia's invasion of Ukraine and standing squarely behind Vladimir Putin. By the way, this is the same North Korean regime that fired off some missiles, yet again conducting another test over the weekend after a number of tests back in January. So North Korea standing with Vladimir Putin. China from the beginning. Last week, China also, a Chinese spokesperson, blamed the United States for Russia's invasion of Ukraine, even though Vladimir Putin has been planning this for years. Blame the U.S. So that's China as well, and we've documented here in the newscast an increasingly cozy relationship between China and Russia. And as these sanctions bite, these sanctions on Vladimir Putin, he's going to look more and more to the east for financial support from China. So China, North Korea, the Iranian regime. Surprise, surprise, last week also blaming the West and blaming NATO, lining up behind Putin, and Iranian state media as well, very pro-Putin, very pro-Russian invasion of Ukraine. More on Iran in a minute. And we also have Hezbollah, Iran's most dangerous and lethal proxy. Now, the Lebanese government actually condemned over the weekend, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But Hezbollah came out against that condemnation and said, not so fast. And why wouldn't they? Look, Hezbollah and Iran are again aligned with Vladimir Putin in Syria. These are his guys, this great defender, supposed of Christianity. These are his guys in Syria, vicious jihadists. That's the Iranian regime and Hezbollah, which brings us to, we're talking Syria, Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator, also all in on this Russian invasion of Ukraine. He called it a correction of history. That's Assad's words. So are you really surprised, ladies and gentlemen, when I line this up? Iran, Hezbollah, the Assad regime, China, North Korea, that's who's standing with Vladimir Putin. By their fruits, you will know them. And again, you can tell a whole lot about a person by the company they keep and who their friends are. Those are Vlad's friends. And it's not a surprise, considering the stakes in Syria. And again, Russia bailed Assad out in Syria. When Russian forces entered Syria in September 2015, Assad was on the ropes, and now he has prevailed in that bloody civil war with the help of Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah. And guess what? They are there to stay. Russian forces aren't going anywhere. In Iran and Hezbollah, if they have their way, they're not going anyplace either. Their goal there for Iran and Hezbollah is to establish a forward base against Israel. And Russia, as we see with the invasion of Ukraine, Vladimir Putin wants to reestablish that old Soviet empire and Russian might worldwide. And what better place to do it than in the heart of the Middle East? Last thing before we go today, I mentioned the Iran nuclear deal at the top. Hey, it's still going on. Even though Russia-Ukraine is obviously dominating all of the headlines, there are still nuclear talks going on in Vienna right now to revive that disastrous Iran nuclear deal. And I think the most interesting aspect of it is that while the U.S. and Russia are obviously on very opposite sides of the Ukraine conflict and relations are at an all-time low, at least since the Cold War days, they are still both aligned on wanting to revive that Iran nuclear deal. So you have U.S. negotiators and Russian negotiators. They're in Vienna along with representatives from China, Britain, France, and Germany. And all accounts and all reports are that this Iran nuclear deal is very close to being revived. So while you are riveted, and rightly so, and the world's attention is riveted on the Ukraine-Russia conflict, hey, the Iran nuclear deal pushes ahead apace. It is not slowed down, and these world powers may even be saying, hey, while the world's attention is diverted, let's put this deal out there and get it done while everyone's eyes are obviously on Eastern Europe. But folks, make no mistake about it, it looks like a very real possibility that that Iran nuclear deal, like some vampire or zombie, is going to be revived, and this time around it will be even worse and even more dangerous for the security of Israel, the region, including the Sunni Arab nations, and the West, including the United States. We'll have much more on that in the days to come. Again, don't be surprised if you hear the breaking news over the next week or two about the Iran deal, even as everything is raging in Russia and Ukraine. And again, please keep the people of Ukraine in your prayers. Some 500,000 refugees now have fled that country. It is a nasty, nasty affair. Let's pray for a swift resolution to this and just keep everyone there in your prayers. Thanks so much for joining us here today on the Watchman Newscast. Until tomorrow, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.